Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the next podcast brought to you by PM Powered, your consulting company on project, program, and portfolio management. I'm Wanda Curley, your authority on project, program, and portfolio management. I'm going to talk today, I have a few articles on AI. It's amazing to me how AI has gone from the infancy stage and we're just beginning into the toddler stage. So it's just beginning to crawl. And I think this is exciting news because I think the industry, no matter what industry you're in, will be put on its head. But surprisingly enough, if you're a PMI member, go on to projectmanagement.com. There's actually a few articles there on AI, but I wanted to talk about this one by Mike Griffiths. He is from the PMI Southern Alberta chapter. He has an article called AI Assistance for Project Managers. He says things that I have said in different talks, that AI is going to revolutionize project management. It's going to tell us things that we forget about or that we should be looking at that we're not. So he breaks it down into 4 different areas of AI. He says there's knowledge-based expert systems. Those are the if-then system statements. Artificial neural networks, that's where they try to get machines to think like humans. There's machine learning, that is what AI is, it's machine learning. And then there's chat bots. There's those chatty little bots that talk to us and sound like humans. So he takes the project management triangle, which has technical, strategic, and leadership. And he has a triangle going from where humans do better to where AI will help us to do better. So right now he has current AI systems support the technical aspect of the triangle well, may help sometime soon in the strategic, and it may help in the far distant future in leadership. Now, the way humans do it is, and how it will impact us is that it may help us, we as humans do leadership very well. Strategic, we tend to focus on, that's a little bit more narrowed. And technical, we can do it with our eyes closed, so there's no reason that we should increase the amount of technical that we need to do. We need to do more with leadership and strategic to see projects be successful. And I think you'll find that most experts in the field will say that as well. So let's switch to another one on AI. And this one is called Tech Experts Weigh In on the AI Hype Cycle. So this one talks about how AI is shifting. Remember I said it has gone from its infancy stage to just beginning to crawl. They too are saying that it has changed, and this was written by Ed Burns. He states that expectations for AI are exploding as the hype around the technology continues to build. But don't expect another AI winter like we've seen in previous AI hype cycles, say leading AI experts. So it was interesting to see what they're saying about AI, but he says they're moving away from a human-centric view of AI. So meanwhile, for the promise of today's AI to pay off and move beyond the AI hype cycle, people need to start thinking more systematically about how and to what ends it's implemented, said Michael I. Jordan, the University of California. So we need to make sure that we don't think of AI in a human perspective, but we think of it in a machine perspective. And then when that happens, then AI will even go further. So that's exciting news to me that we're going to see AI actually moving along. So what's the next one with AI? So why we need to fine-tune our definition of artificial intelligence. So this kind of builds on the last one. And this was brought to me by Singularity Hub. And they're talking about how AI can help us in many different ways. And so one way that they talk about AI is there's the cultural film Ex Machina, of a machine that has human-level artificial general intelligence. But human-level intelligence or performance is also seen as an important benchmark for those that develop software that aims to mimic narrow aspects of human intelligence. For example, medical diagnostics. The latter software might be referred to as a narrow AI or weak AI. But what we want to get to is a very broad AI, the one that shows super intelligence that can help us in many different ways. So they talk about such a scenario would clearly change the world in ways that are difficult to imagine, harder to quantify. Weighty tomes are devoted to the studying of how to navigate the perils, pitfalls, and possibilities of this future. And in fact, he talks about Stephen Hawking and how he was very leery of AI because he says it's an existential risk. If we don't put ethics into AI, then we are absolutely facing a new thing that is going to disrupt how we think, how we work. So it's very important that when people are developing AI that ethics is put in there. But there will be those that will not look at it ethically and will look at it in a greed or in a non-constructive way. And that happens with all technologies. So stay tuned with how AI is going to come around. So how artificial intelligence could help us live longer. Think about this. What if you could have AI developing new drugs? And in fact, they talk about this in this article. And it says that it will now take AI only about using 50 people to develop new drugs and develop them more successfully than and it takes more than 5,000 people now. So the pharma industry is getting ready to change dramatically. And in fact, there is a pharmaceutical company that is using AI extensively to take molecular biology in the clinical trials to bring us new drugs. And they're using it with 50 people. So we're going to see boutique type pharmas coming up. And that's exciting news to me because I think we'll find that we'll have new drugs and new drugs come to market faster. I just wonder in the United States if the FDA is ready for this dramatic shift in drugs because they can't keep up with drug trials now. I wonder how they're going to do it in the future. So the next one I have on AI is a little bit different. It's called deep learning use cases aren't limited to big tech companies. So there was a digital advertising company called Laughlin Constable was approached by the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association about a project to use deep learning to identify pests in a cranberry bogs. The idea was met with skepticism, but they ended up doing it, and they were able to find and do deep learning about how these pests work in a cranberry bog. To me, that's exciting news because if we can find out how we can harvest cranberries or any different harvest where we can understand how the pest works, then we can bring in different things to help stop the pest infestation. And we can do that naturally or with chemicals, but most likely we'll try to do it naturally. So think about if you can do it for cranberries, we can do it for corn, we can do it for the big things that happen in our world. So where do you think AI is going to take us here in the future? To me, it's just fascinating, especially in the project management industry where I think we can use AI to very different ways of thinking and help us bring the failures of projects to minimize those. Right now, projects fail either in cost, schedule, or both at a 75% rate. And to me, that's absolutely astronomical. So AI can help us minimize that. So let's shift gears here. So the next one I have is Fast Company, and they have an article called How to Trick Your Brain into Thinking That You Have More Time. From time to introduce what this article talks about. So identify the values you're sacrificing to busyness. So if you love, but you haven't done that maybe in months or years, do it. Take some of the stuff that you spend activities that really don't bring goodness to you and helping your life, and go out and make the time to go and take a walk. You'll feel much better. Your mind will be able to focus better on tasks that are important for your day-to-day activities. Accept that you can't do everything. We as project project managers can do everything, and we can't delegate, learn how to put the lower priorities at the bottom of the pile, and just forget about them. Do one thing at a time, even the unpleasant stuff. Our mind, it has been shown by the neuroscience, are sequentially based. We do terrible at multitasking. And as a mother, I used to multitask all the time. But I find that if I do one thing at a time, I can really focus. So turn off the radio. Turn off things. If you are in a cubicle land, you may want to use earbuds to drown out the noise around you, but try to focus. And if you really have to concentrate on something that is difficult, try to find a quiet space. Maybe it's a conference room where you work, where it's nice and quiet. Invest in aimless acts of creativity. So this goes against what I just said about accept that you can't do everything. But your mind needs to rest. So every couple of hours, do something that's creative or different. Go take that walk outside for 10 minutes. Research has shown if you rest your mind, you'll be able to do much better. Reading books help us concentrate and learn how to concentrate and learn how to take in things. So read a book, whether it be for pleasure or professional. Read that actual book. Spend time away from those, but stay away from those and read an actual book. Spend time with friends and go out and have a cup of coffee with somebody. Go out and have lunch. You need to have that human contact. Give your time away. Stress and busyness have a way of turning our thoughts and concepts inward. Take time to give time away. Go do something with your family. Go do volunteer work. So do that. Spend 15 minutes outdoors. So it's amazing how our creative juices are flowing when we can do things outdoors. And finally, make space for stillness and solitude. If you're taking that time outdoors, maybe you just want to sit down in your garden and take in what's going on around you and how beautiful and how beautiful things are. It helps your mind to regenerate itself. And of course, this is not in the article. Make sure you're getting enough rest. Many of us think we can survive on 3 to 4 hours of sleep. It has been shown that most people need 7 to 9 hours. I'm actually one of those that needs 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. If not, I can't concentrate the next day. Okay, let's shift gears to Elon Musk. We've heard about Elon Musk and his new boring tool and how he wants to create tunnels to help us go from point A to point B more rapidly. So Elon Musk has been chosen to build and operate the O'Hare Express, dubbed Tesla in a tunnel. So he's showing that you can pay $25 for a 12-minute ride that will take you from downtown's Block 37 to O'Hare's airport in an electric vehicle, seating about 16. It's called Tesla in a tunnel. It's racing underground at speeds well over 100 miles per hour. Can you imagine doing that instead of sitting in traffic where you might be in bumper to bumper and wondering if you're even going to make it? Well, Elon Musk has an answer for this, and it's called the Boring Company, and it's owned by the billionaire, I should say, Elon Musk. So he says that he's going to build this tunnel, and the tunnel actually started from the electric car concept. And he says failure is not an option. So we'll see, and Mayor Rahm Emanuel has also said that. So stay tuned. If you're a project manager on this boring tunnel to go to the Chicago O'Hare Airport, I'd love to have you on my podcast to discuss some of the risks, assumptions, and the schedule that you're doing this on. So I want to shift gears to Connecticut DEEP selects a AD project through recent RFPs. So Connecticut DEEP is Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, and they have selected a company to do 1.6 million watts of anaerobic digestion project. So this anaerobic digestion project will take trash, the waste, and consume it without using landfills. So it will consume waste, and it will also it will create energy. Sorry, I got tongue-tied there. Create 1.6 megawatts of energy. And this is just based on anaerobic creatures, bacteria, that will digest all of this stuff. So that's amazing to me that people are thinking outside of how we can get digestion, how we can get this digestive critters to do take care of our landfills and do away with the waste. Can you imagine if we don't need landfills anymore, that we have anaerobic creatures actually taking care of this waste? So my hat's off to Connecticut DEEP for thinking outside of the box and trying new things. So they're actually going to give more RFPs for anaerobic digesting because they have found that it works. So what are some time wasters in project management? We all see it, but do we really in tune to it? So poor or incomplete specifications. How can I say that more effectively? We have too many specifications that are not thought out, that are not put on paper, and then we end up spinning our wheels and having projects fail because we don't understand the specifications on the project. If you are in the planning phase and you see specifications are not good, stop and make sure to get those specifications outlined and understood by both parties. Lame communications. This is when we let communications get out of control on a project. You go into meeting after meeting after meeting and you're just lingering there. Make sure that every meeting has an agenda and that you stick to that agenda, and make sure that you have minute meetings so that you understand what was decided within that. Don't do decision making if you're doing a status. Set up a different meeting if you do want to do that, because you don't want to go down a rabbit hole in your project status meeting. Workflow chaos. You may have the right tools, but you don't know how to use them. Or you don't have the right tools, or people are using different tools for different things. Make sure that you understand how to manage your tasks and to track progress in the way that your company wants you to do it. Make sure that if it doesn't work correctly, that you put in lessons learned so it can be updated. Those are all things that take away from being an effective project manager. So look at specifications. If you don't understand it, make sure you get it clarified. Make sure your communications are by your communications plan, and that you don't have workflow chaos. So there's an interesting project that is going on in Ohio, and it's a $5.9 million project to study drones used for traffic management. So right now, the FAA says that you have to have drones within line of sight, and it can't be more than 400 feet off the ground. Well, this creates problems if you want to use drones to do traffic management. But we already, if there's an accident, think of all the helicopters that are there. Can you imagine if you put drones in the same airspace? What happens if you have a light airplane that is maybe coming in for emergency landing on an road? It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Or you have a small aircraft that is flying very low because they're doing crop dusting or they're doing photography. You've got to take that all into account. So Ohio is actually studying this, and my hat's off to them to putting in an effective way of how we can use newer technology, which is drones. And I think the FAA needs to listen and think about this, because I think they are lagging behind in how to use drones effectively and where they can, and how drones should be used in the United States for doing different things. Drones are used by police force today, they're used by Border Patrol, and now we see that they're going to be used for traffic management. It's just our imagination that limits how drones will be used. So FAA, I implore you to think creatively and to take into account these the ways drones might be used in the future. Okay, I occasionally talk about how executives are named in different organizations. My hat's off to Diversified Project Management welcomes Robert Reel as a project executive. We're seeing that more and more. We're having project executives at the vice president and president level. So Diversified Project Management is one of the latest to name that. So we are slowly getting the recognition that we need as project managers by having vice presidents and presidents at the table. And I'm hoping that at one time we will actually see a president of project management and be on the same level as, let's say, a business unit. So hats off to Diversified Project Management. Then last but not least, we're starting to see mergers among project management companies. So 3 project management companies complete merger. The merger of 2 California-based project management companies with a Phoenix headquartered Reese Carr Incorporated has been completed. The new firm will be named Reese Carr, a project control company, and it'll retain its offices in Phoenix. So stay tuned for mergers and acquisitions going on within the project management company. It's amazing to me that we're growing in such a rate. This podcast has been brought to you by PM Powered, a consulting company. I am Wanda Curley. Please go to Project Connections and make sure to follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and I'd love to hear from you if you are, and also follow me on Facebook, sorry about that. If you're a project manager or you have anything to do with any of the projects that I talked about, or you want to talk about the projects you're doing because they're exciting and they have an innovative way of doing project management, I'd love to hear from you. If there are things that I'm not covering, please contact me on wanda@pmpowered.com. If there's things that I've said that you disagree with, again, I'd love to hear from you at wanda@pmpowered.com. It's been great talking to you, and I'll see you next Monday. Have a great week.